Hey guys, my name is Ali. As you remember, I'm from Team Hoshigumi, here to give you my deck profile on my ritual deck. I just came back from a tournament today, which was basically for like a lot of store credit, apparently. And here I made second place with this deck, here is my proof of the springfest promo card, which once I turn this in, I could get a shiny one, but I don't need it anyways because I don't play golds. Anyways, so here we go. So, starting at grade 0, your starting Vanguard is Dragwizard Vicro. Uh, very good card to use. I think he's the best starter to use because he goes into your soul, helps you countercharge. Make sure when you retire him, you're at Ritual 3, and that you're retiring him with a Ritual Unit skill. Next, 4 of the new heal trigger. She helps you countercharge and soul charge. Very good card to use. Next, 4 Belial Owl crits, a very must-have card in Luard. He recycles back to your deck, and when you retire him, you draw. Now, granted, I mean, like if you call him from your hand, you're basically just getting a new card for him, but still pretty good because you want him to get him back in the deck. Next, 4 stands. Uh, I use the retiring one because it goes back in your deck, but I haven't had to use him as a sacrifice for 2 because most of the units I use don't really require that. I might replace him with Cursed Eye Raven. I don't know. I mostly just have him to send back to the deck. It depends which one's more useful. Next, for this ritual stand, I don't know his name. Uh, so as you can see, I run 8 stands and 4 crits. I feel this is a good trigger lineup to go with. At least that's the comfortability I feel with. I struggled a lot with like draws, crits, 8 crits, 8 draws, 6, 4, you know. But I found that running 8 stands is a very good thing for this deck because you want to try to rush with this deck. It's very important that you do that. And also this stand's good because you kind of like Bellow Owl. You have to call him from the hand though, but you get a card from your hand and you can put a card on the bottom. You have to draw 2, pick from one at the hand, and put the other at the bottom. So it helps you set up for ritual and ritual X for Dragobus. Next, for Drag Saber Urzus. The only PG you'll ever want to use in this deck, it goes back to your hand every time you have 2 in the drop zone and goes back into your deck. When you ride with her as your first grade 1 Vanguard, you're practically guaranteed to get her in your hand on your first stride. What you would want to do is you would call another copy of the Drag Ursus, somehow get it to the drop zone along with Soul Blasting your Drag Ursus that you rode over, and then, retire whatever and add it to your hand. Next, for Abyssal Owls, the card that's related to Luard, where it helps you add one to your hand and helps you get ritual, and also countercharges. But he only countercharges when you retire him with your Vanguard with Luard in its name. Heart card strides work. So 4 of Drag Wizard Fomnak. Great card, really great card. She's been very helpful to me against Nuba matchups where I just have her in the back, and like people using Nubas can't like use that that G guard that uses your own grade 1 units as a G guard. That's frustrating. She really helps with that, and she also gives her great power bonus, and she also helps me get to Dragfell in my hand, or a grade 2 or another grade 2 as well. Next, 2 Knives. You only need 2, and I say you should definitely run 2 because he helps. He's good to use in terms of like attack, retire the unit, and draw. And he gives plus 2,000 to himself when you call him from the deck, so that's pretty great. Next, 2 of what's his name, Maith. I say running 2 works. I used him pretty well early game wise. His ritual 1 skill, which is not GB restriction, is he gets plus 5,000 4,000 when he attacks, making him 11k attacker. He's been really helpful early game wise, and if you're out of Flomnax and you need to call a grade 1, he's a great substitute. 1 Diades, basically ritual Swordbreaker. She only 1 is necessary. I thought 2 would be better because like Swordbreaker was used that way in the previous Luard decks, but with the new stuff right now, you're pretty much fine with just having 1, especially when you're running Dragfall. It's not like you're gonna need to call more for like that. Moving on to grade 2s. 4 Slaptails. People question a lot about 4 Slaptails 2 Slaptails, 4 Mephistos. I go 4 Slaptails because I found out something awesome about him. When you call it grade 1, he gives himself plus 3,000, and he also gives the grade 1 unit that was called plus 3,000. It is sick. I mean, plus, he counts as a grade 1 in your drop zone. Even if it's during your turn, it still counts, and you can call him as a grade 1 from your deck. So yeah, pretty great card. Next, 3 Drag Wizard Gaunons. Uh, this is a really great card. He's basically a Nemen with regular power. No GB restriction either. You just call him, counterblast, retire one of your grade 1 rituals, which is basically all of them, and then you draw 2. Very great for that early game hand building. Next up, I used 3 Morfessa. This is face down because I just replaced it after the tournament, which made me think I had to make a few changes. I was running 3 Morfessa before, but I felt I want to run 4 Gaunin because his skill is so good early game. I want to get him a lot, and I want to try to do that. But anyway, essentially I was running 3 Morfessas. Uh, I rarely actually use her as an attacking rearguard, because her attack is on hit skill, which sure adds pressure to the opponent. Maybe I'm not using her right. I still have to learn better ways to use this deck. But yeah, it was 3 more Cessas, but now I'm using 2. Next, 2 Dogdas. I also questioned of putting in a 3rd Dogda instead of a 4th Gaunin, but I'm sticking with 2 for now because Dogda's skill is great. It's Ritual 5, Counterblast, call 2, retire grade 1 lower, and then call 2 grade 1s. But it also thins out your deck very fast. I mean, sure, you use them probably like twice or 3 times, 2 or 3 times because, like, if he restands, you can use his skill again. It's not once per turn, but it still thins out your deck pretty fast. Next, finally, your grade 3 lineup, 4 Dragfalls. That's all you need. 4 Dragfalls. I know some people will say Dragheart is probably better, but I personally think Dragfall is better. He retires a unit. His Ritual X skill can be used anytime you just ride him until the new format comes in. But either way, when you have him, it is awesome. But yeah, and you only need 4 grade 3s in this deck, in my opinion, because thanks to Gaunin, Abyssal Owl, and Flomnak, they basically guarantee you getting him like practically every game. Granted, it's still a risky thing. I will admit that during the tournament today, there were a few times I was worried, but there was only one game, actually one game, one match, one round. Like in that one match, in the one round in that match, I was having trouble getting Luard, but it worked out more in my favor because the opponent wasn't able to do as much. But yeah, anyways, it worked out pretty great. All right, moving on to G zones. One of the Xerox Dragon Ultima. I actually didn't get to use him as much as I wanted to in the tournament, but he's mostly used like for like if the game goes on long and your Dragabyss or Dragstrider became useless, or you're guaranteed he can finish. But I would use him if your opponent's at 5 damage. It's great that you can restand, but if your opponent's got a big hand and at 4 damage, wait till they're at 5 damage before using this. And he's why Dragfall is even better than Dragheart, so don't want to pass up that opportunity. Next, 1 Seabreeze. As you all know, Seabreeze is pretty much getting nerfed thanks to the new rules that'll be in check in May. I question of taking him out, but some people say he could still be useful, so we'll see. G-Guards. 1 Dark Veil. You'll pretty much only use 1 Dark Veil, and you rarely use him during your matches anyways. Your opponents can't really get that numbers that high unless they're playing like Great Nature or Minerva, but most of the time you get the PG in your hand anyways. So he becomes as less useful, but you definitely want to run 1 in case of those those hard situations. I got him up to I got him to 35k shield, very handy. Next, 2 Plot Makers. As you all know, he's great, 36k. 1 Bronarch. Bronarch is awesome. He helps you set up for ritual. Aura Geyser Doom and 1 Aura Geyser to set up the Doom skill. I'm using him for now because I'm just testing it out. I feel like there are some scenarios where maybe he could be useful, but again, I'm testing it out. Uh, two Phantom Blasters. Use him. He's very rarely used, but you want to have him just finish him to finish your opponent. Plus, with Dragfall skill, he helps retire. So if your opponent's at 2 rear guards, very easy. Next, one Spectral Blaster. I didn't get to use him at all during the tournament either, but there was definitely a use for him. I just gotta figure it out. Next, 4 Dragobus Luards. The obvious you want to have. You basically use him as a first ride a lot, but sometimes you might want to use Doom. You just got to figure it out. And his skill's very handy. And like I said, he helps you get your Ursus in hand. Finally, one Drag Strider. I didn't get to use him at all during the tournament either, but he definitely has his uses. He's kind of a questionable unit to use in terms with Phantom Blaster. If you want to like take out your opponent with high power and you don't have much of a hand, go Phantom Blaster because he gives himself plus 10,000. But if you have a big hand and can go past the 10,000, then yeah, go with Drag Strider. But either way they get plus crit and Drag Strider bonus quad drive. All right, guys, that's the build I went with during the tournament today. That's how I got second place. Hopefully, you all learned a little bit from this and will have some good ideas for your own deck. All right, later, and please remember to subscribe to Team Hoshigumi. Thank you.